In this video, I'm going to give you a 3-step framework that I would use if I was starting an agency from scratch in 2026 for the first time. 7 years ago, I started my agency completely from scratch, and just 1 year later, we hit our first $1 million. And eventually, we grew to more than $3 million. And after I did that, I started helping other agencies grow. And as of this recording, we've helped over 600 agencies start, grow, and scale their agencies. The thing is, everything I teach to my students is behind a paywall. But for this video, to help you, I've decided to just give you the exact 3-step framework that I teach them. By the end of this, you'll have a clear, actionable plan to build a real agency so you can finally achieve the freedom that you've been looking for and actually build something long-term. All right, let's start with level number 1, which is to build an offer that prints you money. Look, most agencies get into the trap of being a yes man. When I first started my agency, people were hiring me because I had a skill set. I was good at content. I was good at social media. And what began to happen is people kept asking me, hey, can you do my social media? Can you do my social media? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And of course, being a hustling entrepreneur who wants to freaking make money, being a business owner, I'm going to say yes to everything. And then what I slowly started to realize is that I pretty much created a job for myself and I had no boundaries whatsoever. I was saying yes to everything, website, SEO, things I didn't even know how to do. And the problem, what happens is you get to a point where you're so overwhelmed, you run out of hours on the day and you realize, again, we pretty much have a job for ourselves. And the real reason is the root of this happening is the fact that we don't have an offer established. When it comes to offer, we need to basically have something for our clients that we sell them that gets them the result that they look for. So when it comes to our offer, what we want to make sure firstly is we want to make sure that our offer is outcome driven. When it comes to having an offer that is outcome driven, a lot of people say, I do videos, I post on social media, I run ads. It's like, people don't care about that. What they care about is the outcome that you can actually provide. The other thing that we want to make sure is that it is repeatable. What can be repeated can be scaled. If we're reinventing the wheel every single time, we are absolutely going to go crazy. The other thing that we want to make sure is that it is delegatable. We want to be able to look at our offer and say, okay, I could hire somebody to do this. I could hire somebody to do this. I could hire somebody to do this. That way, when you're building your offer, you're not building it around your skill sets. You're building it around scaling and hiring people and building a team so that you aren't in the trap of basically just having a job for yourself. And last but not least, marketable. No marketing will save a bad offer. So we need to make sure that our offer is in fact marketable, which kind of is going hand in hand with outcome driven. So Austin, how do I create an offer that's outcome driven, repeatable, delegatable, and marketable? When it comes to building an offer, all we really need to do is we need to figure out 3 core things. The who, so who is it that we're serving? We need to figure out the pain points. So what are the pain points of who we're serving? And then we just need to figure out their desired outcomes. So the who, what I like to do here is just be really, really specific. Like, who is our ideal avatar that we want to help? I always like to keep it somewhat broad. So I'm just going to say like online coaches doing 10K a month plus. So what we need to then think about are the pain points. What are the pain points that keep these online coaches doing 10K a month up at night? What's things that they're most aware of? If you had conversations with people, if you talk to people, if you had sales calls, like what is it they're actually saying? I'll just assume no predictable leads. No one knows who they are. Not booking calls consistently, good at what they do, competitors stealing biz anyway because they're more known. Then what we need to figure out is what is it that they want? And likely it's the opposite of this. Leads, change no one to everyone knows who they are. Remove not booking calls to booking calls consistently. Gaining market share in niche, most known in niche. This is probably what most online coaches want. So what we want to think about here is what is it that my clients actually want? They don't want a new website. They don't want someone to run paid ads for them. What they want is the outcome that all that stuff could provide for them. So oftentimes, even if you have a skill set, if you have an offer, it's just about repositioning our offer to be outcome driven. Then all we need to do is figure out what do we need to do to get my clients from where they are to where they want to go. And then what we do is we build out what's called steps to desired outcomes. Your job as a business owner is to solve a problem. So we need to understand what our clients' problems are that are in the market that we can solve. If you have a skill set, write this down, figure this out. If you don't have a business and you're wanting to start an agency, do some research on people with high ticket service and understand what their problems are. And then you understand, okay, how do I actually solve their problems and get them a result? And now our offer, we want to position this as the medicine to the pain points. If I have allergies, I'm going to take Benadryl because I trust Benadryl is going to make my nose stop running. If I need leads, I'm going to trust you to get me there because you have the ingredients, the steps desired outcome that are actually going to get me to the outcome. That's how our offer needs to be positioned. So from an outcome-driven perspective, we're doing everything that we can do to get them the results that they actually want and solving their pain points. That's outcome-driven. Repeatable. We just define what are the simple steps that are going to get them to the outcome. Guaranteed. This becomes repeatable. Delegatable. I could look at this and be like, okay, onboarding, John could do this. Editing videos, I could hire an editor. Hosting the content, I could hire like a social media manager. Overseas, maybe. Okay, doing the strategy, I'll keep doing that, but eventually I could find a strategist. Boom. We begin to look at this as a delegatable offer. Marketable. We just created your marketing copy right here. If you're an online coach with no predictable leads, our team and I will blank, step desired outcome in 90 days so that you can predictably get leads. Everyone will know who you are and you book calls consistently. That's step one. This is the foundation of actually building. If you nail this, you will nail the next two steps. Level two is to build a scalable client acquisition system. The number one reason that agencies never take off or they stay stagnant or don't even survive after a few months is they don't focus on lead gen. There's two types of agencies here. There's the people that are wanting to start an agency and start this from scratch and they don't have any clients and they think that they need the fanciest website, the best logo, the best branding, the best systems, all that sort of stuff. And they don't focus on client acquisition and they feel frustrated and they're like, oh gosh, why aren't I getting clients? I am a victim. And then there's the second type of people who have clients and they begin to say yes to a lot of people and maybe getting clients is a little bit easier for them, but they're vulnerable because if a client leaves, they have no idea where their next client's coming from. We want to completely abolish all of that by building a scalable client acquisition system. The number one way your business will not fail is not having the best systems, having the best website. It is having client acquisition system that you can turn on and off. And the thing is that all of the client acquisition systems that you're learning online or that you see people talk about or you see people saying this is the way to scale, they all work if you work. So let me break down a few different client acquisition systems that actually work. Social media content. That's a way to absolutely get clients. Cold outreach on social. This could be a way to get clients. Paid ads. This could 1000% be a way to get clients. Cold email can definitely blow up your business. Referral system can totally get you clients. Warm outreach can get you clients. What we want to do is we want to basically say yes to figuring out what's going to be the best for our offer, for our target market, for getting in front of people, ultimately at scale so that we can build a system for it. If it was me and I was watching this and I'm like, I am just starting from scratch, what am I going to do? I'm going to focus on cold outreach on social. I'm going to focus on creating social media content. I'm going to focus on doing warm outreach because that's free for me to do as a business owner. And I'm going to create a system and really triple down on that. I'm going to go ham on doing all that from a lead generation perspective. I'm going to come up with a referral system. Absolutely. Because this to me isn't going to cost me any money to do it. The problem with these ones that I'm circling is that it is unpredictable. I would still do that. We do all of these. But the problem is I don't post and I'm like, oh, for every post, I get this many clients as a result. Like it doesn't work that way whatsoever. What we want to aim for is creating predictability. And predictability oftentimes does cost money. Let me break down two ways that you can create a predictable client acquisition system using something like paid ads and cold email. Let's look at cold email first. The thing that I really appreciate about cold email is we can literally build a list, we can find our target customer, and we can send them a message and have full confidence knowing that the message that I'm sending is in fact going to land in the inbox of the person I'm messaging. This is crucial because this allows me to be really pinpointed with who I'm actually sending a message to. So what I would suggest here from a cold email perspective, I would use instantly.ai and use that to warm up your emails, build your infrastructure, everything that you need in order to actually get set up. Then I would warm up emails with the goal to send 1,000 a day. That would be the goal if I was going to start cold email today and I'm starting an agency from scratch. Then I would build my lists. Inside of Instantly, they have something called Super Search where I can literally type in my ideal customer and boom, it would actually give me a list of my ideal customers. And then I would write copy with value as a call to action, meaning can I do something for you for free? Can I send you over a list of the top performing ads that we've ran for online coaches before in the past? Then the people that are responding, I would appointment set positive replies. And that's basically the MO. So that's the cold email system that I would 1000% use if my goal was building something that's repeatable from a client acquisition perspective. Let's look at paid ads. It's a little bit different. We need to start with building brand on something like Instagram. And we teach something like a paid ad strategy. It's basically called the authority funnel. So we need to build our brand on social media. Then what we do is we create the ad that's outcome and B-roll ad, essentially. Then what our ambition is going into this is I'm going to spend at least $1,000 a month. Then we make the ad an engagement ad with the call to action being a DM, meaning it's not go watch my 30-minute training, go to my landing page, all that sort of stuff. The ad says, DM me the word leads to learn more about how we can set this up for you, whatever it could be. But we're trying to get them to DM us. And then what we do, we appointment set in the DMs. So we're not chasing them down. We're literally just having a conversation in the DMs. The ambition here is predictability, something you can turn on and off, building a system that allows you to not be anxious about the growth of your business. And honestly, if you nail the client acquisition strategies, you're going to have more confidence hiring, you're going to have more confidence scaling, and you will be able to grow your business without anxiety of leads at the end of the day, which is what we want. Let's talk about level number 3, building an operating system. When I first started my business, it was mostly just me. And what I did when I was starting to grow, because I had my offer, I was scaling my client acquisition, I had a good amount of clients. And what would happen is I would hire somebody and I would throw them in the deep end and I would say, John, please help me with XYZ task. Expect them to do well. And they sink at the end of the day. And the problem wasn't that John wasn't talented. The problem wasn't that our offer is not good. The problem is I didn't equip my team to actually work off of any sort of system. Everything was in my head. Everything was stored in Google Drives in my notes section. Sending Slack messages of to-do lists for people is not scalable whatsoever. What we needed and what we built is an operating system for our business. And once we had the operating system, that's really what took us from just me to over 20 employees at our company, fulfilling the offer the same way over and over and over again. So when it comes to an operating system, we need a few things in place. First is we need a project management system. When a client comes through and we need to start working for them, how do we keep track? How do we manage our tasks? How do we fulfill? How do we make sure we're hitting all of the deliverables? That's what a project management system is built to do. Because once you have the project management system built, then you can then plug people in to work that system for you. Next, we have the client system. What we built is what's called a client portal, a client operating system, where we store everything about the clients, their name, their information, the offer they bought, how many wins they've gotten, how many payments they've made, meeting calendar. Everything is in one place so that when I go to hire another John and I'm onboarding them and then I'm saying, oh, here's a little bit about XYZ client, I can just direct them to find everything in the client system. Another system that's paramount to scaling is the sales system. What happens when a lead comes through? What happens when a call gets booked? How do we get the clients from cold to sold? A sales system is what controls that. So you can see your cost per lead. You can make decisions based off of data. You can see everything when it comes to what's happening in your sales, from the leads to the actually fulfillment of the sales, and make sure that you're, again, making decisions based off of what data. Another very valuable system is our onboarding system. The moment a client says yes is the moment that client has buyer's remorse. So how do we combat that? Well, we have a banger onboarding system, meaning we automate it and it's systematized. So basically our system is we fill out a form, one form, it sends the client a contract, it sends them the onboarding form, it sends them the form to book a call, all automatically without us needing to do absolutely anything. This saves us hours and boosts our retention because the client is pumped. The seed of the relationship is really, really solid. Furthermore, inside of the client system, that's where we'll be able to house everything that gets onboarded, the onboarding presentation, the onboarding notes, making it seamless for us internally for fulfillment as well as for the client. And then last but not least would be the hiring system. A lot of people love to promote front end. We'll help you scale your clients. You'll get 15 clients or you don't pay. Again, you're going to get to a point where you're overwhelmed and you don't know how to hire. And when you hire people, they end up leaving. They end up not doing good. They end up burning out. So the best way to combat that is a hiring system. The point that I'm at, I look at hiring as being just as important as a client acquisition because hiring is what actually builds your business. I always say the most important client when you get to level 3 isn't the one that's paying your invoices. It's the one that you are paying the invoices for, aka your team. And your sole job is to create an operating system that makes it easy for them to have success working at your company and set up to actually succeed and not fail. Meaning we don't throw them in the deep end. We don't expect them to read your mind. Everything is dialed in an operating system, which is paramount to growth. And of course, there's a lot of other systems that we have that we often use. Things like SOP library, NPS score system, a win collection system, a human resource system, internal marketing system, reporting dashboards, and so much more. Systems is endless because when you get to level 3, our main focus as business owners should be building the system. If we have a really good operating system, then it's going to be really easy to plug people in to work the system because we've set them up for success, we've set expectations, and they know exactly what to do. All right, so those are the 3 different levels. And if you want to actually watch me start an agency live and get my first sale in 10 hours, click on the video on the screen to watch the next video because I literally did absolutely everything from deciding on what services to sell, to coming up with the company name, the offer, the copy, down to reaching out to customers using one of the predictable client acquisition systems that I showed you today and booking a sales call. So I will see you over there.